Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nola from Serenidad Consulting in the Peace Ranch, and I'm standing in front of some beautiful yachts at the Southport Yacht Club on the Gold Coast in Australia. Today I want to talk to you about taking time to make important strategic decisions. In the last couple of days, I've had to look at some strategies with regard to Serenidad Consulting in the Peace Ranch, and one of the things that's really important to do if you're looking at long-term impacts is to take time to make important decisions. And the reason for that is often simple, but other times you may not have considered all the risks associated with taking one path or another. So when you've got a really important decision to make, no matter what the context of that decision, the best thing that you can do is to sit down, and you'll hear a lot of speakers talk about this. Write down the pros and cons. So look at the advantages if you take one decision and the disadvantages if you take that decision. And then for every other option that you have, do the same. Look at the advantages and the disadvantages. And also then, once you've looked at the advantages and the disadvantages of each option, assess the risks associated, the risks and the opportunities. So for instance, if I were to make a particular decision about where to purchase acreage for the Peace Ranch, there are a few things I need to think about. Location, in terms of the environment in which that acreage is, the neighborhood, the potential for development, the impact of climate aspects. So if it's in an area that is prone to things like tornadoes or storms, cyclones, hurricanes, whatever, these are all the factors that you need to consider. When we think about this in the context of the workplace, probably the biggest decision that people will make is whether or not to change their role, the things that they're doing professionally. They might choose a different career path. So obviously those decisions are going to have not only a financial implication, but also a professional lifestyle kind of implication. So it's important that you take the necessary time to make those decisions instead of just jumping in. Here on the Gold Coast, like a lot of areas in Australia, we are in what's called a real estate boom, and I find it quite extraordinary that on the one hand we can have government talking about the bad state of the economy and the recession that we're in as a result of COVID, but then you've got money literally coming out of the woodwork. People are paying record prices for properties, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. And the same thing is happening in the United States. So, you know, we can have certain things being told to us and fed to us through the media and from government, but unless the reality reflects what we're being told, then you have to question whether what we're being told is actually true. Now, from a recession perspective, in Australia, for instance, we have the Reserve Bank, and that bank sets interest rates, both from a realising a profit and also expending on loans. So if the Reserve Bank sets a very low interest rate, it's to stimulate economic activity. But what happens when that interest rate goes up? So if somebody's buying $1 million property and they're paying 2% interest on their home loan, and then in 5 years' time that 2% is suddenly 8% or 10%, then obviously that home with a residual mortgage may not be affordable. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, when are we ever going to see interest rates like that? Well, I can tell you back in 1986, when we had the stock market crash and it was a global impact, I was personally paying a mortgage that it was a $90,000 sum, that mortgage was $90,000 at nearly 17% interest. That's where our economy was at that time. Now, we actually had parity with the United States dollar, so that was a good thing, but our economy was costing, it was costing people a lot of money just to be existing. So think about those risks when you're making decisions regarding finances. And likewise, if you're in a situation personally where you might have come out of a relationship, or you may have had, a spouse die, or you may have a long-term relationship that you have exited from your own choice, and you're not sure whether to ever embark on a relationship again, take the time that you need to make that decision. Time will reveal the very best solution. Don't hit the P button, what I call the panic button. Just take your time. I look forward to speaking with you again next week. Bye for now.